All right, we might get started. Hello to everyone joining us. My name is Daniel. I work for RMIT University, but today I am representing the Tertiary Information Service, or TIS. For those that aren't aware of what TIS is, we're a collective of universities, TAFE institutes and independent tertiary colleges that hope to inform students and help them prepare for future careers. So joining me today, I also have Jackie Birchall on the line, who is from Monash University. And we also have a couple of students on the line as well, who's are on board to answer a couple of questions around season scholarships. So we have Rachel, who is from Swinburne University, and then we also have Rosa, who is joining us from Monash University. So a bit of a jam-packed session for you. Today we're focusing on Cs and scholarships. But before I begin, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we are virtually meeting. And I pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging, and any Indigenous people joining us today as well. So like I said, today we'll be focusing on some of the specifics around applying for special consideration and for scholarships as part of your applications to further study. So a lot of you may be in year 12 and have started this process, but we're here to sort of clarify some of the areas around season scholarships when you go to make your VTAC application. So in terms of VTAC key application dates, VTAC has now opened for you to start your course applications for 2021 if you haven't done so already. So some courses, particularly certificates and diplomas at TAFEs and some independent tertiary colleges, you may be able to apply for directly by completing an application form directly on their course web pages, but most other courses will require applying through VTAC. So this is particularly for university courses. So VTAC applications opened on the 3rd of August and timely applications close on the 30th of September 2020. In terms of what timely means, it means that it basically costs you less to apply during the VTAC timely period. So if you submit your application and pop in your preferences, so you get 8 preferences total, and you put those in before the 30th of September, it'll cost you $41. But if you do it after that time, the next period will cost you $119 to submit your course preferences. But it's really, really important to note that some courses are only open for application during the VTAC timely application period. So it's recommended that you do submit your application during that VTAC application period if you're considering a range of different courses and institutions. VTAC lets you apply for up to 8 courses at once across multiple institutions in order of preference. So you should be treating your preferences as a bit of a wish list and including all things that you're interested in studying. And it shouldn't just be about what you think you'll get into, but make sure you fulfill the entry requirements as well. Really important that you're thinking about subject prerequisites, selection tasks and the like when you're going to put in your applications, as well as you're also looking at pathway courses and using the correct course codes when putting through your application. Onto fees and costs. So this is, I guess, the sort of main focus of this session is around scholarships and fees. And for today, we will be talking a little bit about the different types of fees and costs associated with tertiary study, and for me in particular, how a scholarship might be able to help you with the different fees associated with higher education. So, now, although most study isn't free, one of the great things about being an Australian citizen or a permanent resident is that the Australian government wants to help you get a tertiary education. So this means that the government offers fee assistance programs, including HECS help, fee help, vet student loans, and government subsidised places based on the type of course you would like to study and your citizenship or resident status. These fee assistance programs are where the government gives you a loan to pay your tuition fees and you pay them back once you've graduated and are earning over a certain salary. So for example, students that get a HECS help or vet student loan to help pay for a tertiary course will start repaying their loan when they earn over the current salary threshold of $45,881 per year. This threshold does change sort of as government changes and policy changes. So this may change by the time you start paying back your HEX loan, but it's at the moment that's the figure that it stands at. The loan repayment generally comes out of your pay with tax and is a small amount per week. It is really important to do some research into fees to understand whether fee support might be available to you. Those looking to go into TAFE programs as well, there's a free TAFE initiative available on a range of certificates, diplomas and advanced diplomas. And this means that the government will pay and cover the fees in that specific area, and students don't need to pay back fees. What students will need to pay for if they go into a VTAC program is material and amenity fees, and courses within free TAFE are for high demand areas and can change year on year. So make sure that if you're looking at going into TAFE and you're interested in the free TAFE initiative, that you're doing your research as to the different courses that are on offer. I'll now move into managing a budget. Who I have forgotten to introduce are Anna and Barney, who are also on the chat as well today. So Anna's from Swinburne and Barney is from the University of Melbourne, but together we sort of come together as the TIS executive. So we sort of meet regularly to talk about how to best support students and run expos and the like during non-COVID times. So this is why we're delivering the session today, to better support students on Cs and scholarships. If you have any questions throughout the session, please feel free to pop them in the chat, and Barney and Anna will be able to assist there. But in terms of managing a budget, fee assistance will help cover the cost of your study, but remember there might be a number of other costs you have to consider in the next stage of your life. So more immediate costs might include things like rent if you're considering moving out or moving to Melbourne to undertake your studies, groceries, entertainment, and utilities. If you aren't already, it might be a really good time to start figuring out a budget and figure out what's going to work best for you as you sort of transition into university. You might need to ensure that you have a casual or part-time job to help cover the costs associated with going to university and paying for fees, textbooks and the like as you sort of go on and sort of grow up and want to go out and with your friends. Another way to cover these living costs is also through scholarships. So I'll now touch a little bit on scholarships. I'm sure you've all heard of scholarships before, but they do vary in size and are generally given out based on either sort of two categories, in either merit or equity. Merit means it's based on your scores, performance, or application standard at the time of application or throughout your studies as well. Equity scholarships help students cover the costs of studying higher education, particularly those who may not have been able to afford it otherwise. There's many ways you can apply for scholarships. Some scholarships can be applied for through VTAC, and others you will need to apply for directly to the institution. The different types of scholarships are whether to apply for through VTAC or apply directly to the institution is outlined on the VTAC scholarships website. So that's a really, really good place to start when exploring your scholarship options. Others you might be automatically considered for as well based on your application details or Cs applications. We'll talk about Cs at sort of the second half of the session and cover the different application, the application process as part of Cs then. So listed now on your screen is the different types of scholarships. So there's quite a different range listed there. VTAC has two different lists of scholarships on their website, like I've said. So those are available to apply directly, which require separate applications, and those available to apply directly through VTAC. What the beauty of those available through VTAC is that you apply through a single online application form for a number of different institutions, and then from there institutions will reach out to you on a case-by-case basis if you've met the requirements of the scholarship once you are provided an offer into a course. There are a number of different types of scholarships on offer, including access and equity, Indigenous Commonwealth scholarships, or academic merit scholarships as well. And the access and equity scholarships and the different sort of categories available under that bracket are listed on the screen as well. In terms of what you need to provide with your application, so when submitting a scholarship application through VTAC, you'll need to supply a range of information and supporting documentation, depending on what is relevant to your application. This might include personal details, so where you live, the school you go to, your age, those kind of things, financial circumstances, personal history and circumstances, and you may be required to answer the question, how will a scholarship benefit your 2021 studies? You can submit the same documentation as you do with C's as well, and Jackie will talk a bit about the C's documentation in a little bit, but this might be Centrelink payments, medical certificates and the like. Applications for scholarships are now open and close on the 9th of October, so be sure to follow the instructions and submit all the required information by closing dates. It's recommended that you allow a few days for your documentation to be validated prior to the closing date in case you need to resubmit any documents. So if you're needing medical certificates and the like as part of your scholarship application, it's actually a really good time to start now in the next sort of week or so that you can allow yourself enough time to submit through VTAC and get it verified and make sure that everything's legible and on track for your scholarship application. Your application will be assessed by the universities offering the scholarships, and the process depends on the individual scholarship in terms of how you'll be contacted by the individual institution with further information on accepting that scholarship offer. They'll advise you of any outcomes at the designated time for that scholarship as well. And scholarships vary, so you may be provided with one upfront payment at the start of your education year, or you may get sort of lump sums right across the year. So it's just it will vary depending on the scholarship offered by the institution. A really good place to start as well is on the VTAC website. You can put through a demonstration, like a sort of example scholarship application. So do sort of like a trial run before you have to do the real thing, just so you know the different types of components to the application that are required. I'm now going to stop sharing my screen though, because now we get to the fun part of the session. We'll have, let me just stop sharing. We now have Rachel online from Swinburne. Sorry, I'm just having trouble viewing the Rachel, but Rachel online from Swinburne. And she is currently studying film and television at Swinburne, and she has actually received a scholarship as part of her studies. So Rachel, I'll pass it over to you to introduce yourself and tell us, I guess, a little bit about yourself.
Awesome, thanks Daniel. Hi everyone, I'm Rachel. As Daniel has introduced, I am a student at Swinburne University. I'm third year film and television this year, so it's 3 years of 4. And yeah, I was admitted on the Vice Chancellor's Scholarship, which is a merit scholarship.
Fantastic, thanks Rachel. So can you tell us a bit about the scholarship you received when you gained entry into the course, and I guess what it meant for you when you were getting your offer and that kind of thing?
Yeah, sure. I guess I knew I wanted the scholarship pretty early on in high school because it's ATAR based, so I guess I kind of like applied myself to studies and just made sure that I got over that threshold for it. Yeah, I mean, it's a scholarship whereby you don't actually have to apply for it, so it's one of those ones where it's score based, so as long as you get that score and you have that university that you really want to go to in your top 8, once you get your results, usually what happens, and it did with me, was the university contacts you, or you get a letter in your letterbox as well.
Wonderful. And I guess, how did you find out about your scholarship or your scholarship options?
Mm-hmm. I guess this one's like quite widely marketed by Swinburne, but most of the, I guess, merit scholarships from the different universities you will see being advertised on their scholarship page on the university that you want to apply to, but also through your course counselors in high school as well. They do usually, like when you ask about scholarships, they usually have a couple of examples, and the merit ones are usually the ones that they talk about most. Yeah.
Perfect. And what did a scholarship mean for you? So when you, I guess, went to Swinburne, what did it allow you to pay for, or yeah, what advantage did it give you?
Yeah, for sure. So with this scholarship, they give you half yearly payments for the duration of your course. So like mine's 4 years, and they also give you like a travel allowance as well. So that one's like a certain amount uniquely targeted towards like an overseas opportunity, whether that be internships or study tours. So the one that I did or used most of the money towards was my study tour, and I did one in first year, and I also did one at the end of second year as well, before COVID all happened. But most of the time, like, the money is pretty good for like when you need to update your laptop, or if you want to get like a desktop. Because I'm in film and television, there's a lot of people with a lot of fancy gear, so it's kind of like, it's a good piece of it kind of gives me peace of mind that there is like that opportunity there, that if I feel like I'm falling behind tech wise, it's not too much out of pocket to, update or upgrade.
Wonderful. Sounds awesome. The travel stuff sounds amazing too. And the last question I have for you is, what tips would you give to those currently in high school that might be weighing up their options for scholarships?
Yeah, definitely. I don't know if your course counselors talk about this, or if this is like still something that VTAC do, but my course counselor highly recommended that, whatever course that you want to apply for, it's really good to add in, like, I think it's an optional area for when you're applying, just reasons why you want to go to that university, why you want to do that course. So I wrote like personalized statements about like, oh, I really love film. I think it's the career that I want to be in. I'm really good at it, blah, blah, blah. And it's kind of like a mini essay that you write. And I feel like when you're applying for scholarships, even if it's the ones that you don't have to apply for, like the one I got, it's really good for the university to see that like there is a genuine passion and reason for you to be applying to that one, and it kind of separates you from the rest. And also just like don't feel like there is a time that you need to consider scholarships. Like if you feel like now it's a bit too overwhelming, too much, most universities do offer scholarships throughout the year, even once you enter into university. So don't think like if you don't apply in year 12 that the opportunity is lost. But yeah, I definitely feel like it makes life a lot more easier, and it makes receiving your results all that a bit more exciting when you feel like you have a scholarship waiting for you as well, whether that be the one that you apply for or one based on results.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Rachel. I might pass it over to Jackie now to start on the C's portion of the presentation. Thanks, Jackie.
Thanks, Daniel. I'm also going to add to our wonderful panel the wonderful Michael from VTAC, who is a bit of a guest Q&A answerer in the background there, just popped by to say hello. So just a quick reminder before I do start the next section, if you do have any questions at all, if you can just use the Q&A function through Zoom, and we'll be able to get through those in the next half and at the end. And particularly if you do have any questions for Michael from VTAC, I would recommend start putting those in now before he gets too busy. All right, I'm just going to share my screen with you. Perfect. All right, so the Special Entry Access Scheme. So the Special Entry Access Scheme is an access scheme through VTAC, designed or often referred to as C, which allows participants to submit for special consideration if there's been any circumstances that have made it difficult for you to do your best study. So C's is designed to make sure that institutions get a sense of your full potential, and it enables institutions to consider the circumstances you have experienced and their impact on your studies while making selection decisions. So you only have to submit one C's application, and all institutions you've applied for will be able to get access to that application. So it saves you communicating your circumstances multiple times with multiple institutions. So if you're eligible, C's can adjust your selection rank after you've received your ATAR. So in terms of eligibility for the SEAS program, you do need to be an Australian or New Zealand citizen, an Australian permanent resident, a eligible temporary bridging or safe, on an eligible temporary bridging or safe haven enterprise visa, and also an Australian Year 12 applicant. While international students are not eligible for SEAS, however, if you are an asylum seeker on one of those visa subclasses, you can apply for SEAS. So there are 4 categories which are listed up on the screen there. So you can apply for as many categories that are relevant to your situation, so long as you apply for each category for a different reason. So moving into category 1. So category 1 is your personal information and location. So this includes all the personal information that you put into your VTAC application, and basically just gives VTAC permission to give you any automatic adjustments that you might be eligible for. So this includes age, living or school location, underrepresented schools list, which, keep in mind, does differ depending on the institution you're applying for, gender, Indigenous Australian recognition, non-English speaking background, and first in family to attend tertiary study. So we really recommend that all students apply for this category. As I said, it basically just gives VTAC permission to give you any automatic adjustments, and it's really easy to apply for. All you do is open the VTAC application, tick a box for category 1, and then you're done. So nice and easy. So moving into category 2. So category 2 is disadvantaged financial background. So this is for students, or applies to students whose daily life has been affected by some sort of financial disadvantage. So this includes things like receipt of Centrelink benefits, being a dependent of a parent or guardian who is in receipt of Centrelink benefits, excessive financial obligations, individual or family economic hardship, individual or family poverty. So you do need to supply supporting evidence for this category. And if it's your own Centrelink, you can provide your own Centrelink CRN. Or if it's not your own, you can provide documentary evidence of that Centrelink benefits from your immediate family. Or you can also provide an impact statement from yourself and a statement of support as well. But I would recommend having a look at the further details on the VTAC website for those details. So moving into category 3. So this is disability or medical condition. So this category is for conditions that have affected you personally and does not include caring for other people. So that caring for other people falls under the next category. So examples of this could be things like breaking an arm during exams, coming down with chronic fatigue, mental health conditions, just to name a few. So these conditions are not necessarily limited just to Year 12, and if a condition has been ongoing and affected your education over a long period of time, you can still apply for these as well. So keep in mind that you do need to provide an impact statement here and also a statement of support, which should be from your health practitioner to verify that impact statement that you've written yourself. And finally, we have category 4, which is difficult circumstances. So this category is for all other circumstances that may have affected you through family or life events. Any circumstances which are both beyond your control and not already covered by a previous category. So as you can see, there's quite a number of different examples on the screen there, including disruption to living situation, things like the bushfires, being a refugee or asylum seeker, and as well as impact from COVID, which there are a couple of new categories for this year. And I'm going to go into that in a little bit more detail. Excuse me. So in terms of the evidence requirements, there are a couple of different sections of category 4. So for most of the category 4 sections, all you would need to do is provide an impact statement and a statement of support. So this process is different for a couple of different categories under this area, for things like sexual assault, homelessness, family violence, impact of bushfires, COVID remote learning, asylum seekers, and out-of-home care. So there's some short questions and things like that that you can provide evidence through that way, rather than having to put those extra documentation in and having to detail those events over again. Now, with regard to COVID and remote learning, so there are a couple of different sections, and there's a bit of detail up on the screen here. Hopefully you can read nice and clearly, but I'll just go through these in a little bit of detail for you. So obviously this has been an exceptional year with a number of different circumstances affecting students across Victoria, in different ways. So for circumstances that have affected everybody with relation to COVID, this will automatically be reflected in your ATAR and your study scores through the VCAA special consideration. For remote learning issues that have affected some people differently, this might include things like internet issues or lack of suitable tablet or computer, unsuitable workspaces, and not being able to access materials. For this portion of COVID remote learning, you do need to apply for Category 4 and answer yes to the remote learning question. This will then take you through to a series of questions that you'll need to rate yourself with regard to those questions. For other issues that may have affected you beyond remote learning with regard to COVID, such as economic hardship, mental health conditions or family violence, you would just submit a normal CEES application, a normal Category 4 CEES application here as well. And don't forget, as Daniel mentioned, for scholarships, make sure that you get all of those supporting evidence documentation in well and truly before the 9th of October, to make sure that you get it validated, to make sure you have the correct documentation and that it's legible as well. The applications do close on the 9th of October. And just keep in mind that if you do apply for any of these categories through CEES and you're not eligible for any of them, there is no disadvantage. So putting in a CEES application may give you an adjustment on your selection rank, but if you're not eligible, you'll simply stay the same. So it is really important that if any of these are relevant to you, that you do put in that CEES application. All right, I'm just going to stop sharing here. All right, so Rosa, if you can introduce yourself and tell us what you're studying.
Yeah, sure. Hi everyone, it's so good to see you all. My name is Rosa and I'm studying at Monash University in Law and Commerce, and it's my final semester, so I'm really excited to get out.
Fantastic. And so can you tell us a little bit about the CEES categories that you applied for?
Yeah, sure. So I applied for a number of categories just because I was eligible or deemed to be eligible under all of them. So the first one was the Category 1, which was the personal circumstances one. So I'm the first in my family to go to university, and my parents also come from a non-English speaking background. And then on top of that, I went to a school called Colester College, which was on the list of underrepresented schools. And then the other category that I also fell under was Category 2, which meant that it had to do with my disadvantaged financial background, and my parents at the time were on Centrelink benefits. And so again, I fell under that category as well. And then the final category that I fell under was Category 4, which was where I experienced some difficult circumstances in Year 12.
Fantastic. So, really great that you were able to apply for so many of those categories and get some adjustments there. So how did you know what consideration to apply for, and did you have to go to anyone to get some help in putting in your application?
Yeah, so the first time I heard about CEES was through a representative from a university, and they came and spoke about it. And then I went and saw my careers advisor at the school, and we had a chat about more of the sort of details that were involved in terms of the documentation that I might need to provide, and also the personal impact statement that I had to write. So my careers advisor had had many years of experience helping other students previously with that sort of process, and so she was able to really walk me through and make sure that I was doing all the right things for the application.
Fantastic. And did getting a CEES consideration impact your entry into university?
I think most definitely. So with a law degree, At Monash, it's generally been at the 98 ATAR mark, and I didn't get anywhere near that. I got 93.5, and if anything, even if I was eligible for some sort of guaranteed scheme at 94, which was the ATAR required for the guaranteed scheme, I got 93.5, was even lower than that. So I really think my C's application made a huge impact on my entry to university.
Fantastic. And would you have any advice for students that are listening today with regards to considering and or applying for Cs?
Yeah, I do. The advice is probably to just apply, and don't think that there's some sort of disadvantage for you when you're applying for Cs, and that it might reflect poorly on you when you enter university. No one knows about it. The only person that knows about it is you and the person who's going to be assessing your application that you applied for it. And then keep in mind that everyone has you can really achieve your fullest potential, but sometimes, like this year with COVID-19, that might impact on how you performed in your exams and stuff. And so this isn't something that should define you. So if you can apply for a C's application, I definitely encourage you to do so.
Fantastic. And so as part of the process through once you got your results and then getting an offer, were you notified about getting that C's, or did you just find out when you got an offer?
I didn't find out at all. So when I got my first round offer for Law Commerce, I was like, oh, I think C's has done something to my ATAR score or something like that. So I didn't, apart from ticking and apart from providing the personal statement and the documentation as part of my VTAC application, I didn't hear anything about C's after that. So yeah.
Fantastic. Well, it sounds like C's has done some really great things for you, and study is all going well now. So thank you very much for joining us today. We have a couple of questions that have come through, and I can see that Michael's been very busy in the background answering a few of these questions here. I'll just, Michael, if you're there, I've got one question here. Do you have to submit a C's application before you get the statement form? But you don't have to provide the form before you submit? And is there a contact phone number so that somebody so that this person can get in touch with somebody?
Yeah, it's a great question because the process can be a bit confusing, but there's two steps basically. The first step is to fill out the actual C's application form, and on that form is where you're typing in your impact statement where that's required. So the impact statement is not a separate document, it's part of the C's application form that you're filling out. Once you've done that C's application form, you can then provide any additional documents that are needed, like the supporting statements. So submit that application form first, then you'll have access to all the different templates and different options providing supporting evidence. And for the second part of the question, you can absolutely contact VTAC for support. Our phone number is on our website. I won't read it out now since you're probably don't have a pen with you, but you can definitely contact us. You can call us, or you can even email us from inside your VTAC account, and we'll be able to help you out as well.
Great, thanks, Michael. So I have a question here. Do we have to mention low SES area in our C's application, or do they recognise it without in their assessment without mentioning it? That's correct. So as part of the Category 1 personal information, the low SES area is automatically assessed as part of that particular category. So no need to file a particular category application for low SES area. That's part of your living and school location. Should step siblings be considered in first in family question? That's a really good question. Maybe Michael, you might be able to jump in on that one. Do you know if step siblings are considered as siblings in the first in family category?
It is a great question indeed, and I don't know the answer offhand. So get in touch with us and we'll be able to get back to you with the correct answer for that person.
Thanks, Michael. All right, I don't have any more questions at the moment. I'll just give it a minute or two if anyone has any last burning questions that they would like to ask either myself or Daniel, Rosa or Rachel. I'm happy to take some questions here if you do have any questions for our student ambassadors or for myself. Nothing's coming through yet, but hopefully you've all got some valuable information out of today's session. We are recording this session and it will be available on our Facebook page and on our YouTube channel, so Tertiary Information Services on YouTube. We will be putting it up on the website at some stage, but It's just going through some changes at the moment, so it'll be a couple of weeks before it will go up on the website. A couple of last questions that have come through. So could you please clarify again whether I also have to apply for Category 1 on VTAC if I'm low SES area? Yes, so Category 1 is the category you need to apply for. So that's just that simple tick box if you live in a low SES area. The Category 1 is the one you need to apply for.
Sorry, I would just throw in there, it doesn't hurt for everyone to apply for Category 1. There's no additional documentation required. I think Michael can probably correct me on this, but I think you pop in your full name and your address as well as your school. Yeah, perfect. He's giving me a thumbs up. So it's just really basic information.
All right. So is parents who mature age still considered first in immediate family? So I don't think parents are considered first in family. It's just siblings. Is that correct, Michael?
Yeah, I think the question is saying if the parents attended university as a mature age student, is the student still considered first in family? The answer is no. So if it's anyone in your family who's attended university, including as a mature age student, including if they didn't finish, then you personally would not be considered first in family.
Great, thanks for clarifying that. Can I apply for mental health considerations with Cs if I've never been formally diagnosed but could get supporting statements from psychologists or counsellors?
For me? Yep. So if you've been seeing a psychologist about the condition, you can absolutely apply for the medical category on that basis. If you were having mental health issues but you hadn't seen a health practitioner, then you might apply instead under Category 4, difficult circumstances, with some supporting statements from your school instead. But if you have seen a psychologist or a counsellor, then yes, you can apply under Category 3 with the appropriate supporting information.
Fantastic. And just one question about C's application. Can you start the application and then save it and come back to finish it on a later date?
You absolutely can. It's a great question because you shouldn't wait to do your C's application until you're sure you've got all the information, all the documents. Start now, get something in early, and you can come back to it and edit it. You can add new categories, you can edit your statements and all of that. You can keep doing it as many times as you want to, all the way through until that closing date on the 9th of October. So it's a great question. The answer is yes. And it's actually a good thing to do is to start early and keep editing it as you need to throughout the year.
Fantastic. All right, there's no more questions there. So I would like to thank everybody for attending today. And thanks very much to Daniel from RMIT, Rosa, Rachel and Michael, our guest appearance today from VTAC, and to Anna and Barney for helping out in the background there as well. So thank you again, and I hope you all enjoy the rest of your evening and good luck with your VTAC applications. Thanks everyone. Bye.